Hello and welcome to my video. This is the last thing that I painted, in fact, and it's quite small. It's about 37 centimetres wide by something deep, so not very big at all. And it's obviously, I'm going to say it, it's a tree. Now I'm into trees at the moment, not just landscapes, but tree, like a tree portrait, I suppose. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it much bigger. And instead of working on wood, this one is on canvas. And this is it. Okay, well, I did say it was big, didn't I? This is actually 31.5 inches wide by 45, well, just over 45.5 inches deep. And in centimetres, that is 116 by 81. So as it's so big, I don't want to get in the way, obviously. I'm going to zoom in, first of all, on the bottom where I'm going to start, just to put in a bit of landscape, and then I'll build the tree up through the landscape. Right, well, this one is so big that to save my back, I'm actually sitting on a chair down here, and hopefully it'll keep me out of the way. So what I want to do, I'm going to have the tree slightly over to this side, and I'm going to have a little bit of landscape. But I guess the biggest feature I want in the painting is the tree. The landscape is secondary, and I think the tree will come down here. This will be the left-hand edge, and it's going to be a trunk of about so thick. So in between there and there, that'll be the actual tree bit. Just crick my neck, turn around, have a look. Right, so over here, what are we going to do? I'm going to do one of my, the type of landscape that I like, and that's one of these things, one of these types of landscape that I'm sort of surrounded by, and that is hills with copses on the tops of the hills. So there's a you'll get to see close up in a minute, but that's sort of the sort of thing. And then there's a few little rolling hills. Now I don't want to put the landscape on the tree. The tree's going to be a slightly different colour, excuse me, from the landscape. So here, let's just give this a landscapey feel. And then over there, there'd be the other side of it. So I'll just sort of block that in at the moment, and that'll end up having a few features in it somehow. I'm not quite sure how yet, but we'll come to some conclusion. And then down here, right, so this bit of land, this is my immediate, I suppose you could call it, my immediate horizon. So all this over here is going to be background. So let's just see what we can do very quickly. Quite interesting for me at the moment to be working on canvas. I haven't worked on canvas for quite a while. I mean, I did do a class on an old canvas, but it was so recycled that it had several paintings underneath. So I didn't have the sort of canvas finish. I had a bumpy paint finish, and so there we are. There's a little bit of a background just over there, just to set the ball rolling. Not too worried about what that looks like at the moment, although I do quite like what's turned up. I say what's turned up because I never quite know what will turn up. But anyway, there we are. There's a little bit of landscape. Right, so now the actual tree itself. So I'm going to imagine the tree. I'll start at the bottom so that I don't have to move the camera up and down too much. So I'll do the bottom part of the tree and where it comes into the earth below. Then, when I've done that, and I've done the tree up to about this point here, I will do a little bit of sky where it touches the horizon. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to work the landscape into the sky before I get onto the tree. So the tree itself is going to be a similar colour. This is my usual sap green and red ochre. And the most of the tree is going to be Payne's grey. So the base of the tree. Trees are interesting things, and they're very interesting things to paint, because really it doesn't matter what you do, something will be interesting. Now, I'll tell you who's sort of influencing me at the moment. I won't do too much up there at the moment because I don't want to keep, as I said, I don't want to keep moving the camera. But I seem to have rediscovered Andrew Wyeth. Now, I always liked his stuff when I was a student, but over the years I've never really looked at anything he's done. I have in my memory. I have several of his famous paintings. I mean, tree paintings, but also is it Christina's World, the painting of the lady on the grass, looking at a building in the background, looking at her house, in fact. And apparently there's history behind that's quite interesting. You can look it up, but it's Christina, that's if I got her name right. She was paralysed, and it meant that her world involved crawling around her land to actually see anything, frankly. So that's how it got that name. This is very simple here at the moment. It won't be quite so simple. I will, once I've established exactly what I want for the landscape, I'll start to bring foliage up. But the main interest is going to be the tree. At least I hope so, anyway. So let's have just a few shapes over there. Okay, so the tree's going to be nice and dark, and the reason I want it dark is so that I can show the contrasts. So let's see what we're going to do here. Let's just get some tones in there. Tones, lights and darks, that's what gets people going. In fact, I'll be lifting the camera in a moment, I suppose, but at the moment, no, actually I won't. I'm just going to sort of carry on with the way I'm going here. Now down here I will make some kind of root system, but not until I've done this bit. So there we go. So it's a mess at the moment. Everything's a mess in the beginning, as you know, particularly my paintings anyway. Sometimes if they're really not going well, they stay as a mess and you don't actually see the video, but I think you'll see this one. Okay. So, as you can see what I'm doing here, generally just making texture. Now what I want to do, because this is canvas, you see, that was supposed to be a gash in the tree there, so I might try and keep that. And what I want to do is get some form into the wood, but also I want to get some paint on there so that I can see. So it is so long since I've, as I said, since I've used a canvas, I don't quite really know what I can get away with wiping. I know it's harder on canvas. Actually, that's not so bad. I think that'll do. Yeah, that's okay. Good. So I've got this dark channel here. So to make the dark channel work, it needs some light next to it. So I'm going to have some light here, coming down there. And let's fill that in with a bit of grey. And then over there, a little bit of grey up here. You see, this is the fun of painting trees. You can just sort of let rip. I love that saying, let rip. I wonder what it is you're ripping, but anyway. So you can just make it up as you go along. Chances are it'll be okay. If it isn't, wipe it off. Start again. Which reminds me, I have to consider next year for my teaching videos. Now, I'm not going to stop or anything like that, but I have this idea. In fact, no, I've got to credit where it's due. My wife came up with an idea. And the idea is that over Christmas and between Christmas and New Year's, people often decide, New Year's resolutions. Let's have a new approach to the year. So let's do something I haven't done before. This is not me speaking. This is the person who has the New Year's resolution. So someone might decide they want to take up painting. And I think I have to say, I thoroughly recommend that. Take up painting. It's very good for you. It's quite relaxing. It takes your mind off everything. It's a stress buster. And we all need that nowadays. So why not, as I said, why not take up painting? And I'll show you how to actually start right from the beginning. So that will be a 2-day event, not just a normal Zoom class. But that's when I charge an absolute fortune. I don't actually, considering what you get. It's not expensive. And I will show you how to do something that could change your life. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who really have thought that often. I wish I could paint. Well, actually you can, it's not that difficult. So we've got a piece of wood starting to appear. I'm going to just put a little bit of red ochre, a little bit more red ochre. There is already a little bit in there, but just a little bit down here, because this is where I want the earth. Obviously, the earth is down there. So I'm just going to put in some reddish tones. And as you can see, I'm not exactly being careful about where it goes. So just put it on there. This is I have to say, this is actually quite a small French box easel. And you may well ask, how on earth have I got this bit of canvas, which is colossal compared to the size of the easel? How have I got it to stay there? Actually, I might show you at the end, but it just involves a large felt tip marker and an elastic band. You'd be surprised what you can do, and it's actually quite stable. It's not going to fall off. And just one of these nice little hacks that you can pick up from time to time. Okay, so I've still got the brown down here. A touch of green showing up just there too. And then let's just put a bit more Payne's grey. I had a bit of a Payne's grey panic. The last 2-day event I did, I was painting snow, and I really needed Payne's grey. For me, Payne's grey is part of snow. Got to have it. And I ran out, and I could have sworn that I bought some tubes quite recently. Couldn't find them though. So it didn't quite go the way I planned. However, I now have more Payne's grey than most dealers. I don't want that to happen again. And so there we go. Right, so there we are. We've got a beginning of the base of a tree. I'll move the camera in a moment so you can actually see what I'm going to do up there. Now, the thing about trees, I always say this, is don't make the tree trunk get too thin too quickly. A tree with this kind of girth is going to be the same for a long way up. Could be 10 or 15 feet, even more, depending on the age of the tree. So don't do this weird thing that people do where, they do this thing that looks like some kind of upside down octopus. Now, you may be thinking that to do something like this, you need drawing skills. Now, I don't know that you do need much in the way of drawing skills, maybe some, but don't get bogged down with that idea, because a lot of this sort of drawing is quite intuitive. So it may just sort of happen. Is that going to make sense to people? I wonder. Do you know, I do wonder about me sometimes. But if you experiment and don't sort of I mean, you wouldn't want to cover this in paint and then see what you can find. This is not that sort of picture, not like a sort of landscape, but just sort of mould your tree. You'll be surprised what you can do. So you've got a sort of, well, there used to be a branch there at some time, I suppose, and I'll work on that in a minute. So darks, lights, textures, all kinds of stuff. There we go. And your tree will magically appear. Or it won't, but if you work at it, it will. Now I'm going to have some branches coming off this in a little while, but not quite yet. So we're going to just sort of establish my widths, I suppose. Let's have a bit of dark there. You see, everything that I've done here can now be changed, tweaked, enhanced, all kinds of stuff, using a piece of paper. So let's have a grey shape that comes across the tree here. There we go. Don't know why. I mean, it just feels that that's the right thing to do. This is not a branch here. This is going to be a bit of tree in there. In fact, sorry, a bit of tree. A shadow. Let's just put a shadow in there. There we go. Now I think we should have a branch breaking out from the tree. Okay, so there was obviously a branch there once. Let's just put a bulge on the side. They always look good. A bit of a bulge. Can't beat a good bulge, can you? So it sort of, I don't know, it just gives character to the tree. And let's have a branch now. We've got a little bit of distance here. I think that's looking quite nice. So I think there should be a stonking great branch coming out that way. Let me just imagine it. Let's have just some simple shape at the moment. There we are. Nice, good, solid branch. This will all be twigged up eventually. There'll be masses of twigs on it. And the sky's going to be interesting, you see. I'm going to put some white paint along here, as I said, and there, and then pull the landscape together. That's one way of doing it. Now, I could just not do that, and I could have the tree just sitting on a white background. I don't think I want to, though. Let's have a nice broken bit of wood there. The good thing about these brushes, you see, these cheap brushes, they just have a nice, interesting tip. It's not cut straight, it's sort of ragged. So I'm assuming, you see, it's a French house decorating brush, and really cheap. And I think they are just for shoving paint into crevices where you don't really care what happens to the brush because they're so cheap. One of these is about €2. Let's have some light there. You see how easy it is? Because it's now I've got a lot of oil. I haven't got so much oil that it'll be travelling down the picture. You know, you don't want that. It's just, it sticks to the canvas nicely. Let's have a little bit of a interesting shape just there. And then off goes the tree on its merry way. Up here, and I need to stand back and have a look at that from a distance. And I think, looking at it now, there needs to be some kind of shape here. Now, trees tend not to get thicker as they get taller, although you can have a misshapen tree, which will give that feel It'll, you know, in a couple of places you might have a little bulge that shows something's happened to the tree, you know, a bit of trauma, like a branch coming off or something. And but the overall thickness, you know, try to maintain that. So I'm going to take this branch off the edge. I think there has to be something there quite soon on the other side. But the other thing I've got to do, and I just moved this chair out of the way, sorry about all the rumbling, is I need to check that there's no reflection. No, I don't think there is. Right, let's show you the top. I mean, the top is way up there. Got a long way to go yet. And I can see that there is a reflection on that branch. So I'm going to just tweak the lights. Okay, so back to the woodwork. Now, let me see. A little bit of Payne's grey on its own because I want a really dark shadow just in there. So I'm going to take that all the way down. And then I'm going to add a bit of light to the edges. In other words, if that's a gash, you see, if that's a gash in the tree, it needs to be accentuated. So I'm going to just do this down the edge next to it. Like so. That's not so bad. Not too shabby. And also the other side of this, I don't know what you call it. It's like a giant knot in the tree. Let's just go down a little bit so you can see what's going on there. Looks like an eye at the moment. Well, maybe it is an eye. Maybe this is an ent. Is that what they call it? An ent from Lord of the Rings. I'll have to. It's that little reflection and that white light bit below it. That's what's doing it. So I'm going to have to get rid of that. So I think what we'll do is we'll just do this. I think that's less like an eyeball now. Well, there's still an eye-ness about it, but there you go. It doesn't seem to matter what I paint. Somebody sees something. You know, either an animal or a face. Let's see what we can do to make this even more interesting. Let's take that up. How about that? You can hear me wandering back and forth here. It's such a big painting and I really do need to get back to look at it. Let's have some light just there. There we are, nice bit of light. You see, that's all it takes, just a touch. As long as you don't rush into anything, make marks, think about them, experiment. Okay, it's just a piece of paper, right? See, if I can do that, you can do it. Think of it like that. Okay, so here, I'm going to just sort of pull, that's very dark, see, so I want to pull those together now, so that I'll do a little bit of a blend between the light bit and the dark bit, just by crossing over between the two. And I have to say, at this point, there's absolutely no way I'm trying to actually finish anything. I'm not trying to finalize any part of the painting. This is actually just just sort of feeling my way at the moment to see what happens. So we've got this branch here. Okay, let's start to make that a bit more connected to the tree. So let's just put a little bit of light just there. And then down here, I think it should probably have a few of those. It's just an alternative brush, think of it that way. Piece of paper, your finger, whatever you want to use, you know, a twig that you've picked up in the woods with a sort of, you know, ragged end. You could use that. You can use anything you like. Just make. It's all about mark making, and just a question of putting the marks in the right place. I think I want a bit more darkness down there, but I'll tell you what else I want. A few speckles in the wood as well. So let's have a few of those. Let's just have a couple there while we think about what to do next. So let's see. Right, so the tree's interesting. And now this area, do I need to move the camera? I probably do. Okay, as I was saying, this area here, let's see what we can do. Let's have a shape there. It's got a little bit of green on it. I don't know whether I want green, but never mind. There'll be lots of colours on this by the time I've finished. I mean, when I've gone as far as I want to go on this, you know, with this structural work, I'll leave it to dry, and then I will go back to it and do some glazing. So down the bottom, how far have I got to move that? Do I need to move my camera? No, I don't. Okay. So let's just have another bit of if you think about it, it's actually it's almost like abstract painting. It is an abstract landscape, I suppose, because, or is it? I mean, it's coming from my mind, but it's not what you would call like an objective drawing. That's what they used to call it in my college days. Objective drawing. In other words, you drew something as close to the object as you could. I think we have to have a branch up there. Okay, it has to come down that way, I think. Big, strong, nice big, strong branch there. Notice that it's thicker here than it is up there, but it takes a long time before it gets thin. Now, let's see. I'm going to bring this branch so that it looks as though it's actually growing from this point here, right, actually in the trunk. So we'll just pull a bit of light across, like so. Right, let's see if we can just enhance that a bit more. Let's have a bend there. A bend and a connection to the main trunk, and a bit of light below it, like so. That's not so bad. Of course, we've got some kind of snake with its mouth open there. I don't know why this happens. Maybe it's because I like animals. They feel they have to appear in my paintings. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to leave it as it is for a moment. And what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I think another branch coming out there. Let's be brave. Let's have one that's like this shape. Up, across, and then it can come down. a branchy looking branch, isn't it? And if you're going to paint a branch, it might as well have a branchiness about it. Now, if you like this video, I've got to say, all YouTubers come up with this stuff, don't they? They have to say it. If you do like this video and you haven't subscribed, don't let me stop you. It's free. Somebody did ask me the other day what it costs to subscribe. It doesn't actually cost anything. All you have to do is click the subscribe button and you will be subscribed. It means that you get to see everything I upload and you get a little message that tells you when I've uploaded it. And hopefully it will enrich your life. If it doesn't, then don't feel that you have to. Although you don't need me to tell you that, do you? But if you do like it and you want to see more, just click the subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll know when I put up a new video. Right. Okay, so I'm going to start to work up the painting. It's times like this when I actually wish that I had a step ladder, because it's a long way up there. But I won't panic. I can always stand on a chair. So I'm just going to do something with that shape there, just to sort of, there we go. It wasn't much, it's just a little thing. Okay, so the tree's starting to come together. It's definitely a tree that's had better days. Okay, I can't leave that branch just poking off into the wilderness like that. So I'm going to start going upwards. So I think what we'll do, we'll have a bit of a bend here. And then that branch is going to go off up there. It doesn't look like much there to you, but that's a big reach for me. I have to keep tweaking the lighting. Just move my chair out of the way. Sorry about all the noise. Although some people have said that they like hearing the noise of the brush scraping on the whatever, and scratchy sounds, because it's sort of relaxing. It's a little bit of ASMR, isn't it? I think that's what it's called, isn't it? I should know. I made an ASMR video once. But yeah, people like the that sound. So there you are. There's a bit of that sound for you. Okay, so that's that branch there. So now to sort of figure out in my head what I'm going to do with the tree up there. Once I've actually taken the main branches off the edges, I'll go back down to the bottom to show you a little bit more of what can be done with the ground and roots. I don't want to sort of make it too obviously, you know. I don't actually like these sort of paintings where they just make a big feature of the roots, because it can look overdone, and I don't want it to look overdone. I like to say what I want to say in a painting with the minimum effect. Let's go right up to the top there. Good grief, does it never end? There it is. So, in my mind, what's this tree going to do? Where are the branches going to go? Will there be a branch coming towards? Maybe there will. Yeah, let's have that. Okay, so we're going to have a branch that originates right in the middle here. This is quite tricky to paint, so it's you know, practice makes perfect, I suppose. But bear in mind, I haven't actually done a painting before of a branch exactly in that spot that's coming slightly towards us. In other words, it's at the front of the tree. None of this everything coming off the sides, because trees don't do that. It's very two-dimensional. So let's have a strong shape there. Now, to get this branch to be in front of the tree, I have to decide, Is the tree dark and the branch light, or is the branch light and the tree dark? Well, there's several ways of doing that. And I'm just going to sort of see what it looks like if, for instance, I lighten the tree behind, just there. You see, that will push that towards us slightly. The hardest thing to do, you see, now perspective is actually simple. You have a vanishing point, an eye level, and everything above the eye level goes down to the vanishing point. Everything that's below it goes up to it, lines. You know, imagine a street scene. Standing on the street, all the roofs are going down this way to a vanishing point. All the pavements are coming up to the vanishing point. Now, with something that is thinner here than it is there, what you have to do is make the thin bit thick because it's getting closer to you. But it's subtle. You see, if I make that thick there and then getting slightly thinner here, will it work? That's one of those things you have to ask yourself. So let's put a nodule on this branch here. Let's a sort of lump of light. So it'll hopefully give the viewer the feeling that the thing's coming towards us up here, changing direction slightly, and then doing whatever it's going to do up there. Because even I don't know yet. I'm sort of, you know, making it up as I go along. And if you think if you find that scary, in other words, you think to yourself, well, I couldn't do that. Well, you have to, the only way that you'll know, really, you know what I'm going to say, you just got to do it. So let's exaggerate where this joins onto the main tree. Let's have a nice dark bit just there. Now, it's all looking pretty dark at the moment. Grief, am I going to be able to get up there without getting right in the way? I've got this aversion to getting in the way, but never mind. I'll do my best. Okay, so we've got that there, and let's have it forking off that way as well with that branch. Okay, that's quite a nice little twiglet there. Now, because these branches that I'm putting in here, you see, now at the moment they're going to look as though they're coming off the side and off the side, okay? But it doesn't mean to say they're going to stay like that. It just means that I've got to start somewhere. And as I often say, you have to make a mess first. You've got to break eggs to make omelettes. So there we go. And I think that I'm going to make that shape come down that way. Just a touch. Okay. Now, how much can you see? That's the problem, you see. Until I get a new studio with enormous rooms, I can't really... I don't have the space, you know, to sort of show you the whole thing. Okay, let's come down there and that way. Get rid of that hair. And I think the tree is going to have a nice bend there. Let's have a lump in the tree there, and then it's going to come off that way. Maybe. Nothing is set in stone. Okay. Actually, this part of the painting won't take too long. The bit that's going to take a long time is the twigs, getting the twigs in, unless I decide that there are no twigs, and it's had its twiggy days. And it's now in its, I've just got big limbs days. Okay, so sap green and Payne's grey. I'm not putting much red ochre in this. I'm going to I might put some on as a glaze, you know, when it's dry, but at the moment, maybe I won't do that too much. So I'm thinking up here, if I can do this without obscuring the view, will you see everything? I think you will. Okay. So there goes our tree off that way. Okay, that's the main trunk, which is behind this. So now I've got to pull the two together. So for the moment, you're going to lose the fact that this is in front of that. Okay. But I'll get that back. I just have it in my mind. I know, you know, I know what's going on now. Okay, so we've got a nice pile of paint on there. Right, good. That's nice. Let's put that there. Good. Right, so I'm going to pull this back in front of that. But maybe what I should do, when I think about it, is just put a few things like that in there, just so that I've got some nice solid darks. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Right, I think we're going to make this lighter. So this branch is going to have a bit of a bend, come down here, and it's going to start its life there. I think that might do it. Yeah. Okay. So this branch, is it coming towards us? It, not as much as I want it to, but I think if I lighten it a bit more there, it might. Bring that forward just a bit. I'm not too worried. All I want is it in front of that. It doesn't have to be, you know, that obvious. Oh, some nice texture there. I like that. Oh, yeah. Good heavens. Okay, nice. It's times like this I wish I was taller. Oh well. Of course I was taller when I was younger. I think I've shrunk at least, I don't know, feels like 2 inches sometimes. Actually, that's quite interesting. When you reach a certain age, you feel as though you shrunk, but when you drop something on the floor, it seems like a ridiculously long way to go and get it. And I love this, well, I think it was a meme on Facebook, and it said something like, when you reach a certain age and you drop something on the floor, you have to decide whether your life can go on without that object. In other words, is it worth the pain of getting down there and picking the thing up? Which is why I've bought one of those old person gripper things, which I've lost now. It's somewhere around here. Anyway, it's like a grabber, you know? So you drop something on the floor, you can pick it up without putting your back out. Okay, this is looking nice and woody. Let's have that there. I think that looks good. Oh yeah, this is going exactly the way I want it to go. Yeah, it's sort of coming towards us a little bit. Now then, right, so we got that. Okay, I'm going to have a little bit of, I think a little bit of a shadow there. In other words, the tree behind, just slightly darker. That's good. That pushes this light a bit forwards. Pleased with that. A bit of a line up there. You see, because there's oil in the paint, you see, you can do that with the edge of the brush. You can, like here, this comes down there, right? So I can slowly put paint on, and it's nice and dark, okay? But if I move the brush quickly, I can cut through the paint. So I'll do it up there again. So it's got exactly the same paint that I was doing this on. Hardly anything's come off. In fact, there's a ton of paint on there. But if I do this, you see, I cut through the paint, and that gives you a light area that's interesting. I think it is anyway. But not everyone's the same, thank goodness. Right, Right, now then, that's starting to be tree that I like. Okay, so there we are, that's good. Now this branch here, I can make that look as though it's behind. It's coming off the other side of the tree. Okay, and that's easy. It's already started to look like that anyway, just by putting a bit of light down here. So now the darker branch is in the background, and this light area, which I'm going to just scumble a bit because it's too what I call sudden. So it just needs sort of breaking down a bit. Okay, right. So we got a nice bit of perspective happening there. We got a shadow next to this bit, which enhances the forwardness. Here we go, making up words again. Enhances the perspective between this point. See, if I make it even lighter, just there. See, that's really very in front of the dark bits. Okay, now I'm going to do something with this bit here because I think that needs to be lighter. And just there, just a little, you know, little somethings. So there the branch gets dark, off it goes up there. Then we got this light area which is behind. That's the idea anyway. Okay, so let's make it even more so. Let's just pull that down like so. Okay, so I've picked up some paint. I don't necessarily want to put it back on again. Once you've picked it up, let's just have that slightly lighter there. Could do that, or I could darken it. I'm actually leaning towards the fact that I think it might be better dark. So I'll do that. You see, everything's changeable if you want. Or do I? Actually, no. Right, I think I want a little bit of dark on this. Like so, but I don't want to obliterate that completely, so I'm going to just add a bit more darkness there. Okay, that's looking as though it's going the right way. Again, feathery bit of paper there, just to sort of mingle that bit. A little bit of mingling. And what else do we want to do? Okay, we've got a little bit of, let's just sort of, so this is sort of, I'm playing and, you know, playing and tickling at the moment, because I know it's going the way I want it to go. But I also, I want to get as far as I can with this video so that I don't have to actually do this in two parts. I'd rather do it all in one. But I've also got to worry about the length of the video, and I know there are people who like my longer videos, but going by the statistics that I study avidly, most people drop off after something like, I don't know, I think maximum about 14 minutes. I mean, that's the average. It's not, it's obviously not everyone, but it's, and I don't think it's just me. It's not just my videos. I think it's general. But I watch videos quite often, a lot of the time, in fact, because I'm just one of those visual people. I have to have visual input. And they're not always about painting. I mean, documentaries, that sort of stuff. Everything seems to fascinate me. The older I get, the more I'm fascinated by stuff. But I tend to find a video that interests me, and I'll watch the whole thing all the way. I mean, it could be 2 hours long, and I'm glued to it if it's my subject. So maybe my style of painting doesn't suit everyone. Well, I'm sure it doesn't. But so anyway, I don't know. It's one of those things. Do I Do I make my videos shorter or longer? Right. While we're thinking about that question, I've got to figure out now how many more big branches I want to put on there before I get into the twiggery bit. Twigdom. So we've got the branch here that just ends, right? So I'm going to make that into something that looks as though it's deliberately ending. Like so. In other words, give it a slightly hairy edge. But then here, I think there should be another branch coming in that way. That looks cool enough for me. Good. This is not an exciting palette, I have to say. It's just sludge colour. Not everyone likes sludge. It always makes me laugh. Painting with sludge. Actually, that goes with my name, doesn't it? Painting with sludge with Stuart Davies. A sludge experience. Let's just break that like that, I think. Yeah. Welcome to my sludge. Sorry, you didn't see what I did there, did you? I basically just made that a bit ragged on the edge so that it would look as though it's snapped off. Now, what I want to do, you see, because I really don't like paintings of trees where it's like a giant stem with bits going this way and bits going that way, and you've got to have a roundness to your branches and twigs and stuff. So if I can bring a branch in front of another branch, like so. In other words, this one here starts its life there, not on the edge. Okay. Then I'm happy. Okay, so let's again see now. Look, just a piece of paper. Who would have believed it? Eh? Piece of paper. Okay, so all I'm going to do, I don't want to go on the white areas, obviously, but if I just sort of drag that around on here, giving away all my secrets now. I get wood. It just turns into wood. How easy does that get? What else are we going to do now? I think it needs some. Obviously, I'm going to have something in there. That can't stay like that. So I'm going to take a branch across, which will go behind this branch and appear down there. So I don't want to copy the one below it. There's already a big branch down there, which you can see, this one. So I think it'll come across, maybe it'll go up a little bit more and then behind. Yeah, that's better. That's what I'll do. So I'll ignore this at the moment and just paint through it. So it will go over there, come down here, like so. Let's have a little bit of a bend in it and a twist. And then it will come down and it will connect there. Okay, there we are. Got a nice twisty branch. Don't make them too straight, There are some trees that have that character about them, like willow or bamboo. I have painted bamboo before, but years ago in watercolour, and it was a logo, so it wasn't really how can I put it? It wasn't like an artistic endeavour, it was just a logo. So let's see. Right, so now what's happened to that is that some of the paint has not taken to the canvas and some has, and it actually gives quite a nice effect. So I'm going to zoom in just so you can see that, and then I'll zoom back out again. Right, so it's just this bit here, you see. As the brush came around the corner there, a few bristles made that outer line here with the white bit catching the light there, and underneath, similar sort of effect. So when you get things like that, don't be in a hurry to fill it in with paint. Doesn't necessarily need it. And in fact, while I've got it zoomed in there, we can decide whether I think this branch should be in front of that branch. Now, the way the brush marks go over it, it looks as though this is in front of that. So it's easily remedied. Several ways of doing it. And one is to just sort of do this. If I make the brush marks go that way, you see, that is now in front of the smaller branch. And I'm going to enhance that with a piece of paper, because that's all you need. And it's just this. All I'm going to do is put a bit of light there, like so. A little bit here. Pull that in there a little bit. Just make sure that that's going to be in front too. See? Instant perspective. Instant perspective without the use of the brain. Now then, let's just scumble that a bit, but show you what I'm doing. Okay, I think that, oops, the camera locked? Yeah. So here, again, I want this branch to look as though it's coming from the front of this here, so I'll just sort of add a little bit of light there and a few streaks, just break it up a bit. Now, bearing in mind that a lot of the sky will be done as a glaze later, it's a lot easier. In other words, I'll put all my twigs and stuff in, and then if I have a hint of a blue sky, it'll just go on as a wash, literally like a wash later. So I'm not too worried about tidying it up too much. Okay, back to the top, in fact. So just again, a reminder, this is basically all Payne's Grey, sap green, red ochre, but mostly Payne's Grey. And what are we going to do here? Right, okay, let me see what you can see. I've got to keep looking back at the camera just to make sure that I'm not wasting your time. A little bit of dark just there. Okay. Now then, all this wiping stuff that I'm doing with the paper, if you attempt a painting like this on, particularly on canvas, you really need to get all your wiping done before it sets, so to speak. By sets, I mean dries, and because you literally get one go at it. And yeah, if I let this dry, see, I wouldn't be able to do all this texturing. And the texturing part is, well, it's the fun part, actually. It's really, I think it's fun. Anything else, once this is dry, see, if I want to add light highlights, I'd have to actually get white paint. And I might do that, actually. I might put a few in there, a few little highlights. Haven't made my mind up yet. Nice organic shapes, and hopefully it doesn't look like too many different animals. And I'll bet someone will spot a face in there. That's bound to happen. Let's just go down the tree a little bit. I want to just do a little bit of work. Where do I want to do it? I think I want another branch there. This is, I mean, we've got a nice sort of elbowy bend there, but I think it actually needs something. Going that way. You see, as it approaches the main trunk, it gets thicker, right? It's very important. I mean, if you think about it, we all know how trees are constructed, because we've been seeing them all our lives, right? Now, if you want to paint something like this, and you need reference, then take a photograph, but don't copy the photo. Use the photo for reference and inspiration. Once you try and copy it, you'll get bogged down into detail, and you don't want that. This is art. You're not reproducing nature. This is your interpretation. Okay. Back and forth. Well, if you are into ASMR and you like the sound of footsteps, you're getting plenty of footsteps today. I'm having to wander back and forth across the room because it's to get away from the picture so that I can actually see it properly. Okay. Now, if you get the odd little hairy bit of overpaint, can you actually see it? Barely. Okay, now you'll see maybe a spot there. Doesn't matter about that. Don't worry about it. It's just one of those things. It just shows that you used a brush. Now, up here, that big dark continuation of the trunk heading off up, whoops, towards my ceiling, over there. What are we going to do with that? Right, I'm going to make it interesting. So I think before it's plenty dark enough, so I think what I'm going to do, and I'll really try not to get in the way, it's not going to be easy though. Maybe if I move, okay, I think I'll move that way. Now hopefully, I shouldn't get in the way too much. I can barely reach up there, but let's see how it goes. Let's get some textures in there. Okay, let's see what that does. Well, it looks like wood, doesn't it? I mean, there's no getting away from it. It's got a woodiness about it. And, you know, you haven't had to sort of spend hours leaning over it with a tiny brush, painting every grain of wood, because certainly I wouldn't want to do that. The thing you have to remember, you see, well, you don't have to, it's up to you. I was a graphic designer for decades. And everything was wanted quickly. You were in the old, well, I hate saying that. In the old days, everything was done by hand, no computers. So, you know, whatever you wanted, you had to do it by hand. There was no sort of in between. That was it. And everything was wanted yesterday. And I have to say, I still have trouble getting that out of my mind, you know, because even when I'm just painting and hopefully relaxing, because I find this unbelievably relaxing, I still get this urge to finish quickly. And I don't really need to. Okay, that's starting to look like a tree. Okay, I've seen, so we've got a sort of vague spot just there. I've got to do something with that, and it may mean another branch. And I think that's probably what it's going to get. I've also got to be absolutely sure that the branches are the right thickness and not getting thinner as they get closer to the tree, which is what that is doing a little bit. So I'm just going to pull that up there, just a touch. It's just one of those little things that just makes the thing more believable. Because really, if you think about it, I'm painting an illusion. The illusion of detail. Yeah, so what was I saying? I lose track sometimes. Yeah, if you've never done this before and you think you can't, go out and look at some trees, take photographs. Don't copy the photograph, use it for inspiration. It's just reference. It's just think of it as a record of texture. That's probably a good way to think about it. Let's have another slight something there. Good. So that, sorry, the reason I'm suggesting that is so that if you do something that isn't like the photo, in other words, it's totally out of your mind, you're not making a mistake because you're not copying the photo. You're just getting inspiration from it. And there's nothing wrong with inspiration. So what are we going to do up there in that top corner? I think there should be another one of those branches that didn't go anywhere. So I'll make that into a stump. Okay, it looks like nothing at the moment, but I'll give it a bit of form. And in a moment, you see, this is all done with this brush. I haven't used any other brushes, just this thing, which is 5 centimeters wide. I don't have an inch ruler with me, but that means it's probably just over 2 inches, but only slightly over 2 inches. I do have some rather interesting brushes that I bought the other day, really cheap, and they look like this. Now you might think, well, that's just an oil painting brush. Okay. Well, it is an oil painting brush, but it's really bristly. What I often do with these is beat them up a bit, you know, so that the bristles go in all directions. And they will be useful for smaller bits of texture. We'll come to that soon. Not quite happy with that at the moment. I think that should be there, and I think that should go up, like so. Okay, but I'll work on that in a moment. So up here, this is a very straight bit of trunk there, following this line here, and that just isn't right. So I think I have to pull that over, like so, right over in fact. That's better. That looks more believable to me. What else am I going to do? Okay, back on the right top left-hand side. That stuff. Yeah, up here, that's just sort of ending a bit strange there, so I'm just going to pull that into there, like so. Thicken it a bit there, and a bit more there. There we go. Okay, now, right, so these are the thinner brushes. They're going to be used for branches that are sort of intermediaries. In other words, they're not quite twigs, they're just smaller branches. And I think that needs thickening. Just there. And I'll get back to reforming all of this. Well, in fact, I could do it now. I just need a couple of tickles, like so. And what else can I tell you? Well, yeah, the paper that I use comes in giant rolls. This is about half the size. So I've used quite a lot of this roll. It's essential. You can't really, well, you could, but you get through an awful lot of them. You could do it with rags, but rags, you know, they get clogged up. What are you going to do with it when it's clogged up? You're going to wash it and waste a ton of water, or use these things. Now, this is recycled paper. I don't know that they can do much with it once it's got oil paint on it, but it's a lot friendlier, I think, to the planet than using rags. Okay, so just that mark there has brought this branch in front of that main bit of the trunk over there. Let's just have a go with one of these smaller brushes. Okay, so I got a load of these things. They're all highly expendable. So if they do get completely clogged up with paint, then It's really, I wonder sometimes whether it's worth cleaning them. I don't mean to sound wasteful or anything. Let's cut that out. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so right, a thinner brush. Let's figure out what we're going to do. Let's just use it here for now, just to put a few interesting shapes down that edge. Okay, hopefully you saw that. I think you did. Okay, so there's a few bumpy bits there. And I think, oh, and if you're doing this, by the way, keep your brush well loaded with paint. And you don't have to, you know, because a twig starts here and goes off that way, it doesn't have to actually start painting there. You can paint it here, right, and gradually put weight on it, so that as it gets back to the tree, it's roughly the right thickness. Well, hopefully not roughly, hopefully exactly the right thickness of the branch that you want. Hope that makes sense. Now, because I started there, I'm not necessarily going to let that just end like that. I'm going to go up here, pull it in, quite a light touch, and then slightly heavier as I get to that. There we go. And then I'll add small twigs to that. Down this edge here, I think we need a few more bumps. That's what trees have, don't they? They have bumps. There we go. A bumpy tree. Right, so let's have a look further down again. That's looking decidedly wooden, I have to say, which is, of course, exactly what we want. Now then, what are we going to do down here? We've been up there long enough, starting to get vertigo. Let's figure out what's going to happen around here. So this branch, okay, so it could have a nice nice branch coming off it. Find a good place, like, in other words, look for somewhere where you've got like a lump or a node, you know, a little. Let's have one there. Let's make a bit of a node. If there isn't a big enough node, make a node, and then off you go. Okay, to start, one of the most boring things you can do is just straight line. There is nothing more boring, I think. Well, no, there is. Best not to generalise. A straight line can be interesting, so I don't want to generalise, but it is a fact that a line with bumps in it is more look-atable than a line that has no bumps. Okay, there's a bumpy line. Now, what I was going to show you is, right, so I have a rigger. I'm sure I've done this many times. You know what I'm going to do. If you've been here before, of course, if you've never been here, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But a rigger is a very small brush, very thin brush, but it's got long bristles. The bristles on this are from my thumb up, okay? And it's one of these things where you can do interesting twigs. Let me just go and look in the camera again, make sure you're not going to miss anything. Okay, so I'm going to do a twig. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, that's a line made up of lots of little angle changes. Sometimes the line almost disappears. That's okay, because that works. It's one of these things, like it's an undrawn detail. You'll get the hang of it. So here, right, so there's going to be a twig coming off that. and then it's going to come to there, and it's going to change angle, and it's going to do this and that, like so. Now, did you even see that? Yes, well, it's very pale, but you get the idea. So one of these little twigs is going to come off and go in front of this branch. But, in fact, before I do that, I need to do something else. What do I need to do? Right, what I need to do is this. I haven't got enough texture on that yet, so I'm going to add some. And looking at it, I can see... Right, so there's a bit of light catching the underside. So let's have a little bit of light down there. Let's have a little bit of light on this base of this node. Is it a node? I'm sure there's some tree people out there that might correct me, but node feels like the right sort of word. Nodule, maybe it's a nodule. Okay, so there's a few marks anyway. So before I do anything over that, see, I want to get this all right before I put a light twig breaking across the dark twiggery. Okay, so let's connect that there. Let's have a few more bits underneath and a few little, I don't know what they are, but they're there, little twiggly bumpy bits there. So, okay, now if I get a piece of paper and I'm going to put a twig that comes off here and comes down, okay? So first things first, here's the twig that comes off here, and then it comes down and it sort of appears down there, like so. It's a very strange twig. Let me just have a look at that. Oh, that's okay. Right, so I'm just going to strengthen the top bit. I don't like to go over it. Once I've drawn it, normally I like to leave it, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do that. Okay, now, where the twig comes across the darker branch, what I'm going to do, because quite often, you see, greys are interesting things. Greys and blacks are really fascinating. If it's a light twig, against a light background, it'll look dark, okay? Because the light there swamps it. So where it comes in front of a dark branch, the light might catch it, like that. I think you can see that. And it does work. It's actually quite a nice effect. In fact, I'm going to enhance it just a little bit more. I could leave it until it's dry and use white paint, but I won't. Let's have another bit coming off that way. Like so. There we go. Right, so that's that. That's a simple little lesson, that. Okay, now, lots of bits of paper here. What am I going to do next? Well, I'm going to do a bit more texturizing, I think, down there. And also here. A few little light bits there. You didn't see that. I am known for doing this. I could be painting away, talking and explaining something, and then I realised that you didn't see what I was doing because the camera was pointing the wrong way. Anyway, so I just added a bit of light there. He said, checking, right. What I want to do here, I want to sort of increase that a little bit. And then down here, just a few marks in there. This may have to be a two-parter. What I'd really like to do is get this on YouTube today, but maybe today's pushing it. Yeah, it's nearly 7 o'clock in the evening here, so I think I'll cancel that idea. But maybe I'll put it up in 2 parts so that you get basically this stuff for a premiere, because I like doing premieres because it's interesting chatting. I just like chatting with people, and also I have to say, when you do a premiere on YouTube, they have these expertly produced intros that you can put on, and there's one particular one that I use, which if you've seen any of my premieres, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's called Ambient, I think, or Ambience, it's one of those. And it's just absolutely staggeringly clever. And I always use the same intro. In fact, I like it so much, maybe I make the intro too long, but I let it go on for 5 minutes. You can choose the amount of time, but it's so nicely done. I absolutely adore it. And where are we? We just have a little look there. I think I need to. Okay, I'm gonna pull that forward a bit there. Let's just have a bit of light through there. Anyway, yeah, that's. But I don't think I. Yeah, that's good. I don't think I can get this up today. It'd be too quick. So I'm going to carry on painting, and I think I'll do a little bit of work on the bottom, down where the roots would be. I'm not going to make it very rooty. I just think it looks a bit naff when you do that. Depends on how you do it, of course, but the thing about roots is they are highly, what's the word? They're quite elaborate. And it can look, they don't look right simple. Let me put it that way. They need to have a slightly complex look about them. I think that can go up there too. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, right, now then. So we've got branches coming out from the back, the front and the sides, which is what we want. Let's get some really lighter bits just in there. See, a piece of paper, twist it, and you get like a burl. You know what I mean by a burl? B-U-R-L. Highly prized bits of wood, particularly in the old days, I think, for making car dashboards. So, yeah, that's the part of the wood that they used. You know, when you have a giant nodule, or maybe I got nodule on the brain, or maybe my brain is a nodule. Anyway, let's have a little bit of texture in there. That's good. Break up some of these streaks a little bit here. Now, one thing that I hope you've learnt up to this point, I have no idea how long I've been videoing. I always lose track. But you see what you can do in quite a short amount of time, even if it's an hour. An hour's not a long time, really. And you'll be surprised at what you can actually achieve. As long as you, you know, experiment and play. You've got to play with a lot of paintings before you get one that's really worth keeping, I suppose. But, you know, everything starts through practice. The thing is, can you concentrate enough in your practicing to stay long enough to know whether you're going to be a painter? I have to say, when I was first starting out, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm convinced. Oh, hang on, I just covered up something. Oh no, I think you saw that. I'm convinced that I have this weird concentration thing. In fact, I always thought I was slightly autistic. You know, there's different levels of autism, but This comes easy. Certain things I find unbelievably difficult. And one of the main things, you won't believe this, is that I couldn't talk to anyone. When I was younger, I was so shy. Whereas now, people have trouble shutting me up, I think. But yeah, I could shut everything out, just concentrate on what I needed to do, and just get on with it. And I have to say, I really like mingling and meeting people. But when I was younger, that's the last thing I wanted, you know. The thought used to terrify me. And then something happened. Not quite sure what it was. There we are, another branch. So, yeah, if you want to paint, you know, just keep in your mind that to start with, it won't be that easy. There will be challenges, but eventually, if you become, I suppose, single-minded, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm single-minded. Don't know. But anyway. Right, so what are we going to do now? Okay, we've got this, oh right, here look, we've got this broken off piece of wood. Let's make it look like a broken off piece of serious wood. Right, so there we are. So at some time the branch here is dropped off, the way they do. And what you want to do is make it look as though it's, you know, splintered. So what do? Well, you just get a piece of paper and you do this. Like so. I sort of almost rest my case, not quite there. What I want is to bring some of these light bits here even closer to us by lightening them even more. Like so. So the dark bit at the end is in shadow. There we go, that's okay, that'll do. Right, what else are we going to do? I think down there, there's something that is just bugging me slightly. That's okay there, but down here, I think that just needs to be like that. And what else are we going to... Oh, right, so okay, so let's go down and have a look at the roots. Have a look at the root of the problem. And I'm quite pleased about that too, because it means I get to sit down for a while. Okay, so there we are, there's our tree. And down there is where it connects to the planet. I actually like the landscape. And I'm not really sure that I want to do anything much to it. And in fact, you see, I was going to add a bit of sky to push the two together, but I'm not sure that I will, you know. Or if I do, it will maybe on another sitting. There we are, a little bit of light just there. What I do want to do, and again, don't forget, this is all the same brush, apart from that, apart from the rigger, I beg your pardon, and the slightly thicker brush, but most of it's done with this decorating brush. I need a transition between the tree and what's going on behind. So I think what I'm going to do, you can do this thing here, you can just sort of hit that. Let's take it up a little bit higher. As you can see, I'm a frustrated drummer. Probably a lousy drummer, but I've always wanted to do it. Okay, so there's a sort of nice textury bit, you know, that divides us from the foreground from the distance there. Over the other side, let's just put a few bits there just for the heck of it, just a bit of texture really. Okay, now let's see what we can do with the roots. I've got something weird going on here. I've got to decide whether I want it. Let's try this. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, right. It's all right until I decide it's not all right. Let's put it that way. And maybe I'll come back and rightify it. Okay, so we've got that knot here. Before I get down to the bottom there. Can you see the knot? I don't think you can actually. No, you can't. I'll go back to the knot. Okay, so I'll stay down at the bottom part. Okay, now I've got some green there. I will be probably adding more green as a glaze, so I'll just sort of calm that a little bit. It's okay, but not sure that I want it yet. So let's see what we can do for roots. Funny things, roots. I don't know why I said that. Funny things, roots. They're not actually funny. They're quite interesting. I need some more darks in there. Got to have, you see, to make lights work, you've got to have some darks. Let's just have a bit more there. And then coming down into the brown, let's just add a bit more Payne's grey to that, I think. Okay, now, roots. The thing about roots, you see, is that they're not necessarily all like octopus legs. Sometimes roots will be in a straight line. So for instance, this root here, okay, this is coming down towards us, and then you can have, it could be a long, flat bit of root. And beware of putting branches on them. You know, it's the same with trees. People put branches on trees and they all look like the letter Y. Avoid the letter Y. Roots are the same sort of thing. There's certain things you need to avoid. Let's just lighten that area there. So let's have another root that comes across that way, like so. It's got a wiggliness to it. A hint of the wiggly. And then this one here could be coming quite thick down there. Okay, it sort of comes towards us, then it goes off that way. Okay, getting through a lot of this stuff. And what else? There we are. There's a little bit more there. So that's not come down that way. Maybe that crosses over one of these. Yeah, they do that. And what else should we do? Let's have a bit of... Okay, so we've got a little bit of light there. Let's take that down that way. Let's have this one coming off that way and doing that. Of course, with an old tree like this, you see, a root might have had a little bit coming off like that, and it just ends. Just doesn't go anywhere. Just broken off. And there could be a bit of wood lying just on the ground, like so. Let's lighten that where it crosses over there. Let's have a little bit of a root there. Maybe it'll come up and over there, just a little bit. It's pretty cool. Who would have believed that roots could be cool, eh? What else do I need to do? I am seeing something that I'm not keen on. This dark area down here, it looks as though it's almost like a different tree, doesn't it? I just realised looking back at my camera. So I think I need to bring that down so that and that join in a few places, like so. See, it just takes a touch to rectify something. I've got quite a nice bit of rootery going on there. Now, the other thing is, once you've done that, you're going to want to break them up a bit, because they're not always in full view. So, for instance, there could be a bit of a break there. Goes underground. There could be something growing in front of that, and this here could stop there briefly because it's gone behind something. And the same sort of thing there. Something in here maybe. A little bit of whatever that is. Don't know what it is, but there you go. And there we are. Right, okay. Yeah, it's sort of coming together. That's better. Good. Now, what else? What don't I like? There's got to be something I don't like. There always is. Okay, let's have a look at the rest of the picture. I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be back. All right, the quick break turned out to be overnight. So next day now. This is going to be a long video, so I've got a feeling at the moment it's about 1 hour 40 minutes. So it's going to be, I would think, well over 2 hours long. It'd be very interesting to see how many people actually stay with it. But there you go. It's why not make a long video? I'm sure there are some people who like it. Now, I'm going to continue with the roots and just sort of fiddle until it sort of looks right, really. It's just sort of... The paint is nice and wet from yesterday. It hasn't dried off at all. Sometimes, you know, if I'm painting on board, sometimes it dries quicker, and it's not because it's soaking in, because the board is gessoed. So I'm not quite sure what it is. And also, you might have noticed this if you're a painter, but if you put paint on glass, my palette is basically a large sheet of plate glass, it dries very fast on glass, and particularly the brown colours. Anyway, back to it. So I've had a good bit of time to sort of assess what I want to do with this, and I've looked at the trunk. We'll go to the trunk in a minute. And there are a few places that I want to work on. And so far, I put it on Facebook. I also put a photo on YouTube, and the response is quite good. So hopefully people will like this. Okay, right, so we've got some rooty stuff going on there, and a lot of this would change with the glazing. Glazing won't be for several weeks, but I think it's going to be an interesting picture, this. And in fact, I might try and sell this one, because I don't make an effort to sell paintings. I enjoy teaching videos, and I make some money from YouTube, mostly from teaching, But yeah, this one could be a seller. But, oh yeah, what I'm saying, I don't actually push my paintings. If people want them, I wait until they contact me. I don't bug people. If someone wants it, they'll ask. That's always worked for me. And I think also the sound might be better now. I'm wearing a hat today. It's actually quite cold. The older I get, of course, my hair is slightly thinner. So what I've got my microphone on the rim of my hat. So rather than I usually attach it to my glasses, but I think that was too close, and it's a pretty sensitive microphone. So if the sound was a bit abrasive before, I don't know, maybe it isn't. Hopefully it'll be improved, and I will end up with a slightly warmer head. Okay. So I think maybe the roots are almost to the point where I can, let's just have a little bit something there. I have to say, that's not a bad bit of rootery there. Let's have a few things like this. These could possibly be stones, and that's the light catching the top edge of whatever they are. I haven't completely decided what they are, but anyway. Landscape's looking okay, actually. This is very simple, obviously. And it's doing the job that it's supposed to do, and that is just to fall into the background. Right, so the tree trunk. I'm going to start fiddling with the tree trunk. Let's just put the view up a little bit. Okay, that's probably enough. Now, what don't I like? That dark shape there isn't quite doing it for me. It's okay, but you know. And in fact, this side of it as well. That's a little bit, I don't know what it is. It's just not comfortable with it. So I'm just going to do that. Like so. Just to soften it a bit, get a bit more light into it. Let's have a big lump of light just there. A lump of light, that's an interesting concept, isn't it? Have you seen any lumps of light around here lately? What I wanted to do with this, okay, so my weird photographic memory tells me that quite often these things have quite a large flat bit in them, like so, and I think that might be better. I don't want it to look like an ear hole, so I think that's going to work. Okay, that's not so bad. Right, good. Where are we going to go now? Okay, now I know what I want. This. Now I can't fully explain all the little intricacies of what I like and what I don't like, but there is uncomfortable. That needs to be over that way more, so the branch needs to be slightly closer to the edge and further away from the whatever it is. It looks as though it's being sawn off rather than breaking off, you know. Okay, now let me see. Similar thing happening the other side. There's something there that's uncomfortable. And yeah, right, I got it. And I think it's the same sort of thing. That could be starting there. Like so. Just a little bit closer to the edge of the tree, it just seems more comfortable. And I think the other thing, do you know, my wife often says you don't get enough exercise, but People don't realise how much walking up and down there is between this and the camera. Let's have that there. Now, I've had people that I've taught, and I do this toing and throwing thing, and they say, how do you know when it's right or wrong? And the way I know, I think, is just experience, but also a feel for design. I mean, that's why I became a designer. You have to have a feel for balance and shape. It's just one of those things that you either, I think you have it or you don't, but it can be learnt. And I hope that is one of the things I'm teaching you, that by pointing out stuff. You see, now this is starting to sort of come together across here. I like the feel of the tree, but I'll show you something that I don't particularly like. Right, okay, now, how do I explain it? I'll just show you, I'll do it. Okay, piece of paper. And it's just this area. You see, there's a sort of untidiness. Now, I don't want it to be too oversimple, but I do want it to have, it's got to be feasible. So I think it needs that. And it also needs that. So the shapes across there are starting to feel, in my mind's eye, much more comfortable. So down here we got light under the branch. Okay, so the branch comes in there, and then that needs to sort of drag down here. This needs, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I adding splinters? I'm adding texture. That's all it is. Okay, that's starting to reel up a bit. What you don't want, and again, this is something else that a lot of beginners do, they end up with a painting that looks a bit cartoony. And that's one of those things that is very easy to explain. If it's a cartoony painting, they'll paint a picture of a house or a barn in a wood, and it won't have crisp edges. Everything will be where the angles of roof ridges, etc. Won't be crisp. In real life, of course, they are a bit crisp, mechanical objects, right? So you've got to sort of obey that rule, otherwise it won't work. It'll look as though it's got a slightly Walt Disney smoothed off sort of look, and it won't be right. Good. Now, of course, I made this a bit green here. I don't like that. I don't know what. Well, I made a mistake. As simple as that, really. So I'm going to put a bit of brown in that. Well, not brown. Payne's grey. I don't know why I said brown. Okay, so that's just sort of taking the, I hope it is anyway, taking the edge off the green slightly. The thing is, you see, I will be putting a green tinge back on the tree as a glaze, but I want more control about how that will look. And it's not quite, this is not, another brush hits the floor, and I have to decide, can I live without that brush? Because it's a long way down. Right. Okay, so down here, let's just be a little bit brutal there. Maybe I can live with that amount of green. That's okay. Right. Right, I cut the video there briefly. Hopefully you didn't notice, so that I could pick up the dropped brush and you don't have to hear the groaning. Okay, so back to that. And in fact, I've just spotted a few things now that I'm going to change. So this area now, this is working nicely. That has come together. I'll be doing more work there. But what I'm not liking now is just this bit here. So I'm going to add a slightly stronger bit of light to the top of that branch. And I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit here. So I'm going to take a little bit of paint off, keep a dark bit underneath that so that there's a bit of a ridge. Actually, I want more of a ridge than that. That's not ridgy enough. So I want a little bit of darkness just there. Okay, that's what I think I'm after. Slightly better anyway. Okay, and let's just take that just to there. There we go. I think that'll do it. Good. Right, where should we go next? Right, that's still not right. I'm still not happy. Well, I'm still not right. Will I ever be right? Okay, so there's a little bit of a ridge. I get fixated, you see, on certain parts of the painting, and until it's right, I won't let it go. That might do it. That nearly does it. Right, for now that is going to do it. I'll come back to it if I don't like it later. Now then, so we've got that nice twig, dark against the light, light against the dark. If you don't do it, it disappears, and that actually looks quite realistic. And in fact, I'm going to just enhance that end a bit. Like that. Okay, let's do a bit more work on this branch here. So, what should we do? Well, basically what I'm doing, I do several things when I paint a picture. One is I make the whole thing work together, and then I will go to individual parts of the painting and make them work. So once that branch all works, and it goes with the rest of the painting, I'll move to another branch, make that work, make sure it's keyed in with the rest of the picture. It's a continual process, back and forth. So let's just get a few lights along there. Always be mindful. If you can, you either have a light top, and then maybe a dark band, lighter and then dark again. That gives you the round effect. Or you do dark top, dark bottom, light channel in the middle. And it depends on what works, really. There's no set rule. In fact, there's very few rules to anything to do with painting, apart from the, wait for your undercoat to dry before you go over it. You can pretty much do anything, I think. If it works, it works. Let's have a little bright spot just there. Yep, that's good. You can get a lot of work. You can get a lot of life out of a piece of paper. So yeah, easy to make. You see another little brush there. You see, I can use that for a moment. On there, Hopefully I've zoomed in enough. Just little hints of light. That's all you need. You don't have to be ultra precise. There we are. So that branch now has lights and darks. Starts to get its own character. Okay, so let's have a look underneath that limb. It's a branch or a limb. Right, so let's have something going on in there just to make it a bit more varied in tone. There we go. Excellent. Right. Of course, I shouldn't say my own painting is excellent. Okay, doke. Now then, that's looking cool. Right, there's something I do want to do. And it's... Oh, get the camera in the right place. Right, so this limb here, as it hits the main part of the tree, I want to make it look connected to the tree. I also want some more light spots just in here, just build up that texture a bit. But I don't want it to look like a chicken leg stuck on there. It's got to relate to this. That and that must relate. If they don't, it won't work. And I think the best way to do it is to connect a few lines just down there. It doesn't necessarily have to be there, because that's gone into shadow. But here, you see, I'm going to bring that down so that it actually blends more into the tree, rather than look as though it's been stuck on it. Okay, let's have that. That's looking pretty realistic. Let's take it over there just a touch. Right. Getting there. I do wonder, you know, I keep going on about this, but when a video goes on for this long, you know, how many people are still watching it? I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, I think there is something in the statistics of YouTube that will tell me that. I'll check that. Right. That's looking reasonable. Let's go up a little bit more. Okay, so we have a dark area. What can I do with that? When I get to do the part where I'm adding lots and lots of twigs, I'm probably going to speed it up. I know people don't particularly want me to speed up videos, but I think I'll show you how I'm making the twigs. But I think it does need to be sped up because, you know, I don't want you all slipping into some kind of coma. Now that comes down there, and I think I've got to make this look now as though it's connected there. Does that do it? It starts to do it, doesn't it? Let's have... Right, so I want a really bright line here. Now I can add white to it later, but I can also paint away using my fingernail. That'll brighten that up a bit. Yeah, the twigs, it will take a long time, and I think it will just get ridiculously long. So I will, once I'm happy with my main branches, which I am almost, I will go into hypertwig them, and still not quite right there. I think that needs to go like that. Is that doing it? That probably is doing it. Right, so then we've got a little bit of a hole in the, well, it's not a deep hole, just a serious dent. But I think I will just enhance the edges of it there. Like so. Okay. Right, good. It's very pleasing doing this sort of thing when it all starts to come together. There is, obviously, like I said right at the beginning, there's a point in a painting where it either makes artists or breaks them. And that is when they think that it doesn't matter what they do, they can't get anything decent working. And you have to get past that to the point where it becomes playing. The more you play, the easier everything gets. So I'm going to fill in that hole there, because that is just not right. So this branch here that was there, I'm going to pull across there. And in fact, it's going to come out here, go across there, and it's going to appear there. And then just disappear off the top of the picture. Now, it may look a bit silly, that. Let's just give you a bit more of a view. Right, so the way it works is this. I'm going to use a piece of paper to make a light branch, which will turn into a dark branch, same as the twig, down the bottom. So this is going to come out of here. Let's bring it down a little bit. Like so, and it's going to do this, and then it's going to go over there, like so. So it's in front of the main trunk, and then as it goes off against the light sky, it gets darker. So that's the first stage of that. Let's see now if we can get a bit of life into that. That's a log, really, isn't it? Okay, let's connect it to the tree. So. So there we are, we're connected. And then let's connect it a little bit better at the bottom there. And then get a bit of texture and light hitting that branch. Now, it sort of looks like a branch at the moment, but I want it to look more. I always want more. That's one of the secrets, I think. Find out what people want and give them more. Okay, that's coming along. And I think we'll... see, I'm hoping that when people look at the painting, a lot of what goes on up the top here, it won't be awfully relevant. The main focus will be down there. There we are. There's some sort of ghost images of branches there. We've got a broken branch here, so I'm just going to do a quick bit of work on that, and then I think it's into twigs. Right, that's as far as I'm going to go with twigs at the moment. So what I want to do now is a grass effect. I put in this yesterday, just banging the brush on it, but I want to sort of give it a slightly more grassy look. So same sort of thing, you know, what I've been doing with the twigs here. Piece of paper, and all I'm going to do is adjust the camera just to bring it up a little bit, and you know, using the grass machine, which is this, all I'm going to do is just this a few times. Don't forget, grass sometimes bends over, so you've got to sort of allow for that. Don't just make it all go up, straight up and down like that. So there we are, all that fiddling with a little brush that you may have been doing, you can now stop doing and do this, and it's all over. It doesn't have to be this colour, it can be any colour you like, see. Just, suddenly you get something that really does actually look like grass. And there we are. In fact, I'm going to do a little bit, you see I've got, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of root, not sure. No, it's not quite working as root, is it? Let's try something else. Let's get a bit of green and Payne's grey. I don't like those rocky things that I put in. So what I'm going to do is just put some texture, and then I'm going to beat the living daylights out of it using the whipping technique, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. And in other words, instead of putting paint on this and, you know, making something that's vaguely like grass, what I'm going to do is hit it so that I get some negative shapes rather than positive. Positive means they're dark, negative means they're white. So let's just do that a few times. And see what happens. And that's what happens. You end up slightly out of breath. Okay, so now here I'm a little bit not quite making it awfully clear about what I'm doing there, so I'm going to just see if I can resolve that a bit. So let's make this the shape of the root with a slightly harder line. Maybe that will do it. If not, I'll come back to it at the glazing stage, but I think it's sort of doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, that's actually quite nice. Now, of course, when this is dry, I could add, if I was so inclined, flowers. I'm not a flower person, really, but they can look quite nice. Let's just have a little bit of something there. When you hit it like that, you have to start out with a piece of clean paper. If you don't, nothing happens. Like so. There we are, there's something going on there, and then I've got this weird pale snake thing here. I don't want that. So what I'll do is I'll fade it out and smudge it a bit. Not quite sure what that's going to be. May not be anything. Right, we're almost at the point where I'm going to stop. It's been a long video, hasn't it? But like I said, if you're still there, that'd be wonderful. And yeah, if you want to come to any classes, you can contact me via my website, which is in the box below, in the description box. or you can contact me on Facebook, or just, where else can you contact me? Yeah, probably through my website's the best thing. Yeah, come to a Zoom class. It's always good fun. Goes on for, well, I usually paint for an hour and then talk. Afterwards, we just sit around and chat. The last one we did, I think, we both broke all records. We chatted for, I think it was 4 hours. What else? Sorry, I should have moved the camera up. I've just been fiddling around up the top there, just sort of doing things like this, where I'm just looking for blank areas, really. There's a blank area in there, and I think that could probably do with another sort of one of those. Just for the heck of it. So there we are. There may be more twigs to go, but I can always do that in another sitting. I think I've got all the light twigs that I want. In other words, where I'm taking paint away, except for one I just spotted. What else was I going to tell you? The usual stuff I say when I'm winding up at the end of a video. Yeah, if you like this, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And you'll know when I've uploaded another video. Share it, comment. And everything else that you can do with these videos, I don't know. What else can you do? Let's have a... Yeah, like that. That goes right down. In fact, it's slightly destroyed a tree at the bottom, but that's okay. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for being here. And bye for now.